Spearmen provide the backbone of the Empire's battle line, a defensive row of spears against the enemy charge, and today guys we're here with a showdown between the dinosaurs who shall be led by the Banana Slan, and he's going to be facing off against the Empire who shall be helmed by Pimp Daddy Gelt. It looks like he has a couple of friends, an Empire Captain as well as a Witch Hunter. So as far as the build goes, we're going to be going pretty heavy in the front line. Now, I don't think you need Temple Guard against the Empire, but Saurus Warriors with shields are pretty damn cost effective. With 52 weapon strength, relatively good melee defense, they're going to be able to grind through most lightly armored targets. So Flagellants, State Troops, Spearmen. The only thing that they're really going to struggle with is probably going to be Greatswords, but now the Lizardmen with the new DLC have a couple really good options against Greatswords, which before you kind of had to use Temple Guard or Dinosaurs, but now you have the Red Crested Skinks. So these bad boys, pretty good AP, 26 weapon strength with, let's take a look, 20 of that being armor piercing. On top of that, they're also going to be applying poison. So mixing them in the front line with Saurus, even in matchups in which you don't need a ton of AP, I think is so good simply because they poison. So for example, some Saurus are fighting some troops right here. If the edge of the Skinks or a couple of these models are attacking something that the Saurus are fighting, it's going to apply poison. It's going to be a ton of value. These bad boys do some work. So they also have Frenzy. So yeah, Frenzy is going to give them immune to psychology while they're above a certain threshold. Yeah, they're a pretty solid little unit. So whole front line is going to be Saurus with shields as well as Red Crested Skinks. And in the back, we do have the Banana Slan. The Banana Slan is just so damn good. Barona's Time Warp, a very good combat tool. It gives you speed. So if you're trying to get that really heavy punch in your cav, give them some melee attack, it's going to be super useful for Cold One Spear Riders. But more importantly, using it in the front line, it's relatively cheap in terms of its wins cost. Let's actually take a look. I think it's like 7 or 8 or something in that range, but maybe a little bit more, but it's actually going to be 11. But yeah, just popping that in the front line on like 2 Saurus and some Skinks is going to give you huge value, especially against like low tier state troops and things like that. On top of that, we do have the Nets of Amnitox. So Empire is one of those factions that is pretty mobile, right? They have characters like Boris, they have Boris and Toddy, they're the same person as Boris, there's Karl Franz, there's going to be Demogryph Knights, Knights of the Blazing Sun, a ton of mobile, hard-hitting units, so having nets to tie them down is going to be super valuable, especially if you're a faction with a little bit more primitive technology as it pertains to missiles. In the back line, we do have Skink cohorts with Javelins, 2 of those guys going to be throwing some Javelins into Flagellants. Their shirtless body's not going to appreciate that, and on top of that, we got the Ancient Salamander, so Sally's pretty good in this matchup. She's a little bit vulnerable against cannon fire because, of course, she's a big target, but nonetheless, very fast, good range, can outrange handgunners and crossbows. It gives you some really good utility. You can use terrain. She has a good arc of fire. Sally is just an absolute beast. Probably one of the best units in the new DLC for the Lizardmen. That's pretty much it for my force. I do have the Powhawks of Sentinels, I think, on the far side. No, it's just going to be Pterodon Riders. So just having one group of these is pretty good, especially in Deep Vanguard. Your opponent will often forget about them. You can bring them in, you can attack guns, and just get some good work done. So for my opponent's army, pretty scary stuff. He's got Pimp Daddy Gelt. So Gelt is going to be getting Plague of Rust plus the Glittering Robe to help the infantry fight, and the Searing Doom, I think is what it's called. So basically what he's probably going to be doing is taking advantage of the fact that Pistoliers have pretty good rate of fire, good missile damage, but low AP. So you simply Plague of Rust whatever you want to shoot, and you massive fire them with Pistoliers. They can do some serious damage. So he's got 4 of those bad boys, Pimp Daddy Gelt up in the skies. And for his main line, it's going to be a ton of infantry. So really just trying to grind me out here. He does have Spearmen with shields. Secondary line is going to be Flagellants. So Flagellants, Sigmar Suns here in the back. I don't know if he has a Tattersouls. I don't think he does, but yeah, he does actually. So yeah, a lot of unbreakable troops. And on top of that, he does have some Halberds in the back to help out against big dinosaurs. He has a Witch Hunter for some extra AP. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Witch Hunters have actually been changed. So they used to do direct damage with their accusation, but now it just lowers melee defense, armor, and missile resist. It's still pretty good. And yeah, he's a decent tool against like big dinos and things like that. He's probably going to be hunting Sally, I would imagine. So on that note, guys, let's get this show on the road and have some fun. So here you can see my opponent is going to be shooting into the forest, into my Cold One Spear Riders, and he gets some okay damage. Like I said, Pistoliers don't have the best AP, so he's probably going to be saving those Plagues of Rust for those big alpha strikes. So just a little bit of poking coming in. The Red Crested Skinks are also pretty good targets. They don't have shields like regular Skink cohorts, so you can certainly get some very, very good damage on those guys. So the Spearmen are going to be surging forward. The Saurus are a little bit slower, so got to be careful, and I make this mistake all the time. The Red Crested Skinks are quite a bit faster. They have speed in the 40s, and the Saurus are lacking behind, so if you want to like move your forces one, just make sure to be cognizant of that so your front line doesn't misengage. Anyways, I mean, he doesn't have a ton of like cav coming in like Empire Knights and things like that, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to take the engagement here, get them in melee so they're a little bit tougher to shoot. They're going to start gloving these Spearmen down, and the Saurus are going to be following up pretty quickly. In the meantime, my Cold One Spear Riders, I'm going to be using them very defensively. Now, I was expecting like some sort of cav presence here, but Sally missing her first shot. Unfortunately, those Sons of Sigmar, quite happy that first shot did go a little bit over the top there. In the back, I do have the Pterodon Riders, and they're going to be looking for targets as well. My opponent didn't really bring any like juicy backline targets, so not too much value for me to get with the Pterodon Riders, but nonetheless, they can just attack Balthazar Gelt and pressure him up in the skies, and the Sally getting huge value against Sigmar Sun. So I think I also forgot to mention that I do have the... did I bring those guys? The Legion of Chakwa? Yeah, they're going to be in the back here. So Sigmar Suns are going to be charging into Saurus Warriors. Unfortunately, I do miss the charge there. It's a little bit sloppy, but the Aura Pretzel is going to be getting popped by the Banana Slan, so that's going to be buffing up the Saurus here, the Skinks over here. I mean, huge value on that spell. I mean, Slans are just so damn good. And Sally's just going to be rotating between targets in the back line, so she got some really good shots here on Sigmar Suns. And now she's going to be switching on to Halberds, which of course are pretty good against my army here. And the Pterodon Riders are just going to be chasing down Balthazar Gelt. Now the Pistolier is doing a very good job of tearing those bad boys up, so they're lightly armored. They're pretty much the ideal target, so not the best situation for me. But the frontline fight is going very well. Plague of Rust has been activated, which is going to make the Sigmar Suns and his basic state troops that much stronger. But the Saurus are pretty buffed up as well. Barona's Time Warp putting their melee attack up to 55, which is insane for how hard they hit. They're just going to be lawnmowers at that point. On the flank, we have a pretty heavy fight as well, so it's going to be Skink Cohorts, and the Cold Spear Riders don't have any good targets, like I said. I'm basically just using them to kind of cycle charge, get into the infantry fights, and help out wherever I need, because I haven't been able to catch much, and they're much slower than Pistoliers, so until I'm able to get a good net opportunity, it's not really going to be worth it. In the meantime, my opponent, El Halcone here, is going to be dropping some Thunder with the Empire Captain, who does get in there and do some pretty good damage against the Slime Mage. Gets a couple really nice shots, so he's going to have to get his toilet seat and roll out of here, and we're just going to be getting some Red Crested Skinks on him, and having him on foot makes him a little bit tougher. The Cold Spear Riders aren't going to do a whole lot against him, and Sally in the back, quite happy. She has, ample defense here with the Cold Spear Riders, and it looks like a shield of the old ones is going to be getting dropped by the banana salon. I don't know, saying that fast is always a little bit tricky. But anyways, the Red Crested Skinks definitely being very heroic here. They're going to be fighting tooth and nail against this Empire Captain and actually doing some really, really solid damage. Like I said, good melee attack, good AP is going to be incredibly good against a unit like the Empire Captain, who does have 85 armor. On the flank, the Empire has broken through, so the Flagellants were able to get through some Skinks, and the Skinks across the board are kind of getting worn down, and the Pistoliers are doing a pretty good job kiting. So there's kiting and fighting and slowly picking apart my Cold Spear Riders. And now you can see I'm kind of laying the trap a little bit. I'm not going to over pursue here. I'm going to pull back in just a moment, I believe, if memory serves. And the Slaw Mage Priest is going to be trying to get a net of Amnitok. So yeah, I do overchase a little bit there, but I'm pretty sure I pull back in a moment. I could have sworn I did. But the Ancient Salamander is going to be shooting downtown, going after the Witch Hunter and some of these other targets. Ancient Salamanders are much better against like groups of infantry and things like that. So there you go. So I do pull back the Cold Spear Riders, knowing that chasing those guys wouldn't be a great situation. So I just pull back, attack some Flagellants right here, and I'm just trying to bait him in a little bit closer and getting this buttery Banana Salon just ever inching him over here, trying to get a net of Amnitok because he is a little bit bunched up here. So if I can get a single net, it's pretty much going to guarantee that I kill at least two of those guys, which is going to be good. So the Banana Salon finally does get in range here, so we're going to be countercharging. The Cold Spear Riders getting in there, coming for that sweet ass, and that net is going to be huge. So we get a huge net. The Cold Spear Riders finally going to catch these Pistoliers. And it's a pretty easy mistake to make. I do that all the time when I ride my Pistoliers in like a huge group. It's just like how control groups work when you like path together. So anyways, Cold Spear Riders going to get in there. These guys are large entities. They pretty much have no combat stats to speak of. So we get a massive charge right there. And the Banana Salon is going to be cackling victoriously as we do catch that. But the bounce power is actually a little bit in my opponent's favor. The frontline fight is pretty grindy. He has a Witch Hunter. He has the Empire Captain. I mean, he has a huge pocket of troops over here. So these Skink cohorts are actually getting a little bit worn down, and you can see my Saurus are a little bit beleaguered, fully surrounded by Halberds as well as the Tattersouls, and still doing very well, up to 83 kills. So Saurus are very good in the Empire matchup. Sometimes Empire players will mix in like great swords, but had he brought great swords, I think my Salamander and some of my other tools, like some cycle charging from the Cab and the Red Crested Skinks, could be pretty effective. So it's definitely much better for the dinos in that respect now. But still, like I said, bounce power a little bit in my opponent's favor over in the distance here. The Pistoliers pretty much just get just wild hogged right here. They just get rode down. They just get punished. These Pistoliers are going to be getting chased off the map for sure. So getting rid of those very annoying ranged tools, you can see the bounce power does ebb a little bit in my favor there. It's starting to equalize. And the Ancient Salamander is just going to be running rampant. Ancient Salamanders are such a good unit, but look at this. Accusation going down from the Witch Hunter. So Sally right now is rocking 35 armor, and Balthazar Gelt's actually getting in there with his pimp cannon, doing some really good damage. In the meantime, Witch Hunter is going to be chasing, so Sally, I need to pull her back. She is not in the right neighborhood. She needs a little bit of help, and we still have Cold Spear Riders here and some Skinks in the forest and another group of Cold Ones over there who are going to be chasing off. I think he had one group of Pistoliers left who I ended up chasing, so I don't know if it was a mistake, but I just wanted to kind of keep them away from the main fight. So we're going to be chasing right there, and the Salamander, we're going to be going for that Alpha Strike on the Witch Hunter, because Salamander alone can easily beat a Witch Hunter in a duel. So you're trying to get the Cold Spear Riders to kind of protect Sally from some of these other threats, while she is just going to go in and do some leaping and pouncing here on the Witch Hunter. He's not going to be having a good time versus Angry Lady right here. So in the meantime, the Banana Salon, a little bit in the open. Balthazar Gelt could swoop in, but I wonder who would win in a straight-up duel. 34, 38, 300 compared to 24, 32, 320. Salons do have a much bigger HP pool plus some good magic support, so I think this Salon would probably, I don't know, it's hard to say. Gelt, I mean, it depends if he has like Final Transmutation, things like that. So in the meantime, we do have another pit fight. Rona's Time Warp is going to be going down here. My opponent does respond in kind with a very nice Searing Doom right there, so that's going to be tagging all my troops, buttering them up pretty damn good here. You can see they're starting to waver, taking a little bit of work, and he is going to be charging them with Pistoliers to try and get a break and save this Empire Captain, who is actually very beleaguered fighting against the Legion of Chaqua and his other troops. But a big thing for me, I do get the Witch Hunter here, so the Ancient Salamander is going to be cackling and riding through. We do get on top of the Witch Hunter and finally break that Witch Hunter, which was doing a ton of work this entire game. Accusations were quite good. And that's a really good like armor melting synergy that the Empire now has. Like using a Witch Hunter plus like lower metal with Balthazar Gel, like you could get like some Reichsguard fighting against like heavily armored troops and really pound them pretty bad. Like lowering armor by like 60 or 90 depending on the overcast status is really, really good. So we have a pretty big pocket of infantry. You can see that the Saurus Warriors of Shields and the Red Crested Skinks and the Legion of Chaqua are all in very good shape here. So we're just going to be fighting whatever we can, just trying to unify our forces. I believe my opponent is going to be gathering his forces for the final battle. Now, Balance Bar is a little bit my favor. Pantati Gelt does have some help, though. He does also have the Empire Captain here, but Sally's going to be going in, and now she has some support. So she does have the Cold One Spear Riders who are going to be coming in to help, and she should be able to tail whip Balthazar Gelt pretty bad. I mean, she still has 300 plus weapons rank and is no joke. So Balthazar Gelt is forced back there. Him and Quicksilver going to be running for the hills, and another really good piercing bolt. He's had a really good showcase of doing this the entire game. I mean, just the juicy targets, just getting right on top of the Saurus and my elite troops, and you can see a lot of my guys are going to be wavering as such. So he's probably going to win this fight right here. The Halberdiers and the Flagellants a little bit late on the Shield of the Old Ones, but better late than never. So we're going to be buffing up the Saurus as they fight this little grindy fight here. And Balthazar Gelt is going to be pulling back, doing some cycle charging on the Salon Mage. The Salon Mage is still floating on his, his KFC box right there, doing some good work, but I don't know if he's going to go down to Balthazar Gelt. So right here you can see the remainders of my force, including the Salamander and the Cold One Spear Riders, are going to be charging with the Halberds, which is normally a bad choice, but at this point it's kind of like just such an overwhelming force that I don't think they're going to be able to do much. So I charge in, then I pull back using a banishment, so just trying to get as much value as I can. I have a couple Saurus there, but nonetheless, there's one Flagellant here, a Brave Soul of Sigmar, and it looks like the Tattersouls have a couple models as well as these Halberds. So this is going to be the final fight, but I think with the Salamander just potentially terror-routing these guys, a Blood Statuette of Spite going down from the Banana Salon. Salons are just so good. I mean, it's so much better than Krokar. I think Krokar is such a big target. Against Empire, though, you can't really afford to bring like super thick lords like Krokar, and I think even the Red Crested Skink Chief is too risky. Against my opponent's build, it would have worked, but you have to respect the powder, because if you don't, you're just going to like pretty much instantly lose the game. So at this point, we're going to be coming in here, shrekking some of these guys. Balthazar Gelt is going to be jumping down, trying to steel chair that Salon in the back, but it's not going to work, or gold chair, I should say. And yeah, he's taking some damage from the Salamander, probably going to be suffering army losses here in a moment, and I think that's going to be all she wrote for the Empire. So very, very well played in my opponent. It was an incredibly close game, and he brought a very unorthodox build with Pistoliers, armor melting, and just a ton of like state troop infantry, and it ended up being really close. I think one of the big things that probably was the deciding factor in the game, and had it not gone off as effectively, I think we would still be fighting to this day. But I think it would have gone on for quite a bit longer and been more of a toss-up. I think when we got the Pistoliers in that massive net and killed 3 groups outright, they still had pretty good ammo. Getting them off the battlefield was pretty huge, and that was like his real punch, right? Like the Pistoliers, had they been able to fight in a late game battle and just been shooting at my Salon, who has low armor, I think that would have been pretty big for sure. So netting those Pistoliers and catching them was pretty substantial. But yeah, it was an interesting build for sure. I mean, having the Empire Captain, the Witch Hunter for the armor melting with Balthazar Gelt was super creative, and I thought it was a really neat build for sure. Personally, against Dinos, I think like Demogryph Knights and things like that are just invaluable. But even still, I mean, I had Cold One Knight Riders who actually were kind of deemed a little bit ineffective simply because he didn't bring good targets. So the build was pretty solid for sure. I still would have liked to have seen some like powder units, but again, you got to respect the Ancient Salamander because she's just so good at killing like silver bullets and troops like that with her range. So it's a little bit tricky for sure. I'm trying to think what I would do if I were playing Empire, but it's something I got to kind of theorycraft a little bit because everyone plays different, right? If you're playing someone like Falcon, he's probably just going to be using a ton of heavy cav and just bum rushing and just giving you the business. I mean, everyone's going to be playing a little bit different, so I guess you just have to have an all-comers build. And against like a rush build, for example, like a heavy cav rush build, I mean, normally the Empire does buckle under the leadership, but here with like Flagellant, Sigmar Sons, like 4 Halberds, Pistoliers to kind of kite, plus armor melting, I feel like a build like this would be very good against like a Barona's Time Warp Cav Rush with Horn Ones. So yeah, pretty good stuff. So well played to my opponent, El Halcon. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Lizardmen vs Empire game, and guys, we'll be back with more content soon. Take care.